Hi everyone, this is Sharon. Today I have a design team project for Lydia at Raindrop, Lila to share with you. This is a sweet little journal that I made using several of her kits. On the front of the cover, I've got this little charm that I made using one of her digitals. And then I wrapped this up with some crinkled seam binding ribbon. And then for the cover of my journal, I use this beautiful old Italian book cover. It's got some beautiful gold embossing on it. And then as we go to the inside, I left the original inside covers. It's got this really pretty dusty plum and cream colored pattern to it. And I just used some pretty cotton fabric for my spine. As far as the digitals go in this journal, I used, I wanted to revisit Timeless Beauty. I've used some of the images out of that kit before, but a lot of them I hadn't been able to use. So I used a lot of those. And then I also used some of her aesthetic photos in here as well. So for this first page, I took this image from Timeless Beauty. I love that of the girls. And I just layered it up with a little bit of cheesecloth and added this wax seal to the top. On this page, I created a belly band with a piece of fabric, and then I just did a little die cut buckle from some cardstock. And then this is what the background looks like. And then in there, I tucked this playing card with this cute little girl on there, and I just added some lace and decoupaged some napkin to the back of it. And then I also included this library card from the 1940s. Here's the title page from the book that I used. It's dated 1874. I've used several pages from the book in this journal. And then on this page, I took this little framed image and I layered it up with a couple of stickers that I had. They're metallic looking, and I just add a little aging to it. And I thought that just enhanced it a little bit, and I clipped that on this little clip. And then here I created a couple of pockets, added some lace trim, and then in those pockets I made these little tags with the pretty birds. I backed those with a envelope, a coffee dyed envelope, and I turned that. This is the inside of the envelope. That's the outside. And then on my strings, I just added this little button. Here on this page, I've got another belly band of that fabric. And then to that page, I just stapled these swatches of watercolors. And then here I created a waxed envelope from one of Lydia's envelopes and tied it up with some string, and I just added a couple of fun little things inside there. On this page, I clipped on a couple of vintage photographs. Here I did some stenciling with paste along the page. And then this page is a treated napkin. On this page, I created a pocket with this pretty image. And then in there, I tucked this piece. So this is from Lydia's Home Sweet Home Photos kit. And I will link the main kits that I used down below in the description. But I just attached that with a rusty pin and some lace to this old sheet music. Here I created a side tuck with some vintage fabric, and this is the pattern paper that I used on the back. And in there I tucked this another playing card, and I love this image on this side, so I didn't do anything with that. And then I also added this French letter from 1872. This is a page from a French embroidery book that I have. And then on this side, I just clipped in, this was the fly sheet from the book that I used. So again, it has that pretty purple paper, and then just some vintage items that I also clipped on the page. And then in the center I have a wax doily, paper doily, and I just added a couple pretty beads to the bottom of the strings. Here I just added some pretty trims and lace on there, and I've got another fabric side tuck on this page, and in there I just took one of Lydia's images from Timeless Beauty and trimmed it with some fabric on the side and did some decorative stitching on there. There's writing room on the back. Here I created a corner pocket from this beautiful embroidered piece. I just did some hand stitching along the edge to kind of reinforce it. And then in there I've got a couple of vintage ephemera items, this kind of old lithograph image, and then an old piece of book page. This is a vintage label that I added. Here, this page was at the front of the book that I used, and it has just the most gorgeous handwriting on there. I definitely wanted to preserve it. It's a little fragile, but I used it as a flip out here, so there's some writing room on the inside. On this page, I took some deep olive velvet ribbon, and I just created some bands, and at the crosses added some fabric buttons on there. And that creates a nice little tuck spot for a couple of items. Again, an old Victorian scrap piece. And this is something I found in an old book. Some computations for Janet. Beautiful image. Here I created this corner tuck from this nice floral image, and I cut around the lace that was on that page. And then in there, I tucked this piece. I purchased some mica a while back, and this is the first time I've actually used it, and I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. I even stitched a little bit across it just to see what would happen, and that turned out quite nicely, so I thought I'll just layer that up on this image. And I clipped that onto a vintage ephemera piece from the 1800s. Here I embellished this page with some cut or punched metallic paper. In the center of this signature, I created a couple of top tucks just with some tops of one of her tags. I cut those off to create the little tucks, and then I punched a hole and threaded some fabric through those, and then this is what the page looks like underneath. And then I made a couple of button cards to insert into those. These are some of Lydia's buttons from one of her rose red kits, and this is her button card also. And I just created a flip up with that because I just love this beautiful paper underneath and I didn't want to cover it up. And then on the back I've got some old ledger paper and a vintage stamp. And this is this one. On this page, I created this little fold-out piece, kind of a folder. So again, I used some of that mica for my window. This is an envelope that I recycled. I coffee dyed it, and then this pinstripe was on the inside of the envelope. I just adorned it a little bit with some lace and paper, and then this flips open, and I lined the inside with some pretty papers, and then just added this book page image in there. That's the back. The envelope, when I coffee dyed it, kind of came loose along here, so I just left that, and I created a nice little tuck in the corner, so I inserted this piece in there. On this page, I've got this vintage photo of this lady, and then Lydia came out this week with another kit called Pretty Pink Florals, so I just had to grab one of those and make something with it to put in here as well. And then on this last page, I just framed this beautiful image and attached it to the page. So that is my project for this month. This journal is available for sale in my Etsy shop. If you would like to check that out, I'll put a link to that below. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I thank Lydia for allowing me to be on her team and use her beautiful kits. And until next time, bye-bye.